reported a profit before tax of 10.44 billion shillings for the first half of 2019 compared to 9.98 billion shillings recorded in the first half of 2018. This represents a strong growth of 5% against the backdrop of a challenging economic environment in the period. Now, the group attributes the growth to soaring eager transformation agenda that has retooled and equipped the business with added competitive edge, as well as focus on alternative revenues from other services like bank insurance and leasing business. Total operating income grew by 5% from 21.8 billion shillings to 23 billion shillings, while total interest income increased by 25% from 7 billion shillings to 8.8 billion shillings. Now, the East African countries registered under the East African Business Council are currently in discussions to deliberate on how the common external tariff can be achieved. Now, let's get to hear more from our reporter, Linda Koske, who attended the event.
Yes, Sarah, the East African Business Council workshop just began today. And we've seen some of the matters that are taking center stage is the CET, which is the common external tariff, which is the main discussion today on how the 6 East African countries can harmonize their trade facilitation, how they're going to ease the businesses. And just to tell us more about this CET and perhaps about the workshop, I'm joined by the CEO of the East African Business Council, who is Peter Mathuki. Thank you so much for having us. Perhaps in regards to this workshop, what should we expect in regards to CET since all the countries are here?
Thank you very much. Again, as you've already said, we are discussing this at a time when we are saying the intra-EAC trade is at 12% compared to what is happening with Europe, who are at 70%, and the SADC are at actually 48%. And therefore, we are asking ourselves as East African, of course, Business Council, the Secretariat, and the EAC, what do we need to do to resolve and ensure that, of course, we spark businesses in this region, of course, with view to increase the EAC intra-trade from 12 possibly to maybe 40 or something in the next 2 years or so. And so some of the issues we have been saying and facing are non-tariff barriers, a lot of barriers to trade, and therefore now East African Business Council brings together all the private sector players in the region, the 6 countries, to look at some of the issues that are critical, and one of them is the CET, the Common External Tariff. Of course, currently with the 3 band of 0%, 10% and 25%, but now with the growth of our region, we are saying we need to look at it and see whether we can review to almost expand it to 4 bands, and therefore now discussing and taking a common position today on if we are talking of 4 bands, which level now? Is it at 35 or is it at 40? Or do we need to look at 5 band as we now relook at the issues of adding value additions in the region? So that's why we are here today as we prepare towards the Council of Ministers meeting sometimes next month. We want to have a common position as a private sector from all the 6 countries, so that as we go with a very unified position on how we want the CT framework to look like.
Yeah. And now, as the CEO of this particular East African Business Council, from where you sit, what do you think is the main hindrance to the achievement of CET and that needs to be addressed urgently?
Obviously, is not uniform, and some of the things is partner states have been applying for stay of application, meaning that they're not keen on implementing as it were, and again saying that encouraging an East African partner states trading more with countries outside East Africa more than even trading among ourselves. And so we want to relook at the framework of CET so that now partner states don't keep on applying for application of stay. Because you see, we keep on applying, it means that you are not comfortable with the framework as it were. And that's why we want to see, to increase this, to ensure that we trade more among ourselves, we need to expand these from 3 to 4 bands to see now whether we can increase the intra-trade and discourage more trading with third parties, that is countries outside East Africa. Yeah.
And finally, before I let you go, right now we've been introduced to the African Free Trade. Has it enhanced the ease of doing business?
The East African Business Council moved to host the first African Business Council, and we want to host this either in any of the partner states of the EAC, and we are actually working on that, and we want to encourage everyone again to support us on this position as East African Business Council to host the African Free Business Council so that we can be at the center of it. And again, it's quite exciting now. We are moving from regional now to entire Africa free trade area. And that's why we are saying once we take some of these positions and agree at the EAC level, it becomes very easy now to negotiate with the rest of the regional economic blocks like the SADC, like the West Africa, and like in the North. And that's why we are saying we are confident that, of course, East African community and the partner states will take a leading role in ensuring that the African Free Trade Area is a success.
That is just quite a discussion about the CET introduction, where the 6 member countries are about to discuss. And by the end of today, we'll be keen to know what these countries have decided or what they've concluded at. We'll keep you updated in other subsequent bulletins. Back to you.
K for that update. Now moving on to other stories making headlines, and now we head to Kilifi County, where the county is set to host the first annual coconut festival that will bring together all the 6 coastal counties to exhibit different innovation and products from the coconut plant. The coconut farming sector has been perceived as a sleeping giant, with the government estimating that the sector has the potential of injecting 25 billion shillings into the economy annually. Sarah Adam with that report.
The annual coconut event is geared towards promoting tourism and culture of the coastal community that has been crafted into depending on the coastal coconut tree making.
Maana hii nazi kwetu ina mambo mengi sana. Tunapika vyakula vya nazi kutokana na hiyo nazi. Nyumba zetu kule majumbani kwetu tumeziweka makuti, bado ni huo mnazi. Ukiangalia hata mbao pia zingine zinatokana na huo mnazi.
The event attracts locals to understand the economic importance of the cash crop that has not only been the major source of income but becoming a cultural attraction that brings together the coastal communities. Paul Kimani, one of the organizers of Coco Fest 2019, says the event is aimed at promoting diversity in the tourism sector.
On 23rd at Alaskan ground, this is meant to diversify from the common tourism where we are used to having tourists come down. But right now we want to encourage people to come and see what other people are doing with readily available coconuts.
He appealed to the county government to tap into local tourism marketing strategy to sell the county as a destination for art, culture, music and innovation, where young people will be given an opportunity to also showcase their talents. Over 120 exhibitors have registered to showcase their products. Apart from the exhibition, local artists will also showcase their talents in a long night concert. Some of the coconut byproducts that have been in use by coastal community is the coconut palm wine, mnazi, coconut oil, coconut milk, coconut cream, and among others. Sarah Adam, K24 for Inside Business.
Now, Labour and Social Welfare Committee has raised concerns over why the top management at the National Social Security Fund, that is NSSF, have been in acting positions for years. The committee chair, Alio Wario, says that 13 top senior management officials have been serving in an acting capacity for more than 4 years without confirmation from the board's institution, terming it as the most volatile institution in the country. Sarah Adam also has that report.
Labour and Social Welfare Committees demanding answers in regards to 13 top management who have been serving in the institution in acting capacity without confirmation. The committee chair, Alio Wario, says that Human Resource Practices demands acting heads to serve only for 6 months as the institution boards conducts a recruitment process.
Venye tumeona hapa ni sarakasi sa Bunuasi. Unaona 6.5 billion inatumiwa kama operation cost na wako na wafanyikazi 1,200. That is approximately 5 million kwa kila mfanyikazi. Yani hata wabunge wapati pesa kiasi hiyo. Kwa hivyo tunataka kujua hii operation cost ya 6.5 billion inaenda wapi?
NSSF Acting CEO Dr. Anthony Omerikwa informed the committee that NSSF had historical issues of lack of a fully constituted board to facilitate the institution's recruitment and conducting of interviews. Among the acting managers are Evans Obui, Registration and Collections, Austin Ouko, Corporate Affairs and Company Secretary, and Moses Cheseto, Finance. The CEO was further put to task on how the institution had spent over 5.17 billion on administrative expenses while it had only 1,200 workers.
Houses, I think that roughly comes to 6.2 million per unit. When you have that one unit, how many bedrooms is that house? What's the size of that house, so that we can easily see this comparative with what we have in the market, that we see, so that when you tell us the return on investment is 44, we can understand it.
However, Omerikwa sought for more time to liaise with the team over the issue of administrative expenses. Sarah Adam, K24 for Inside Business.
Now, Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Kenya National Highways Authority and the Ministry of Transport on the construction of the Isola Mandara Highway, which is expected to commence in the coming months. In the MOU, the 740-kilometer road, whose 75-kilometer will fall in Meru County, is expected to benefit the residents of the northern arid region of Meru County through improved infrastructure development, water and other social amenities. In return, the county of Meru shall provide construction materials without instituting cess and also facilitate smooth transportation during the project. Massi Milanoi has details of that story.
With very good news about this road from Isola to Mandara. Indeed, this is the most important road for us in the region, because it is going to open a huge chunk, especially of Meru North, from Isola through Kachuru to Kuramawe. 75 kilometers of a new tarmac road for us is really embracing. And we want to thank you for it. We're happy you've told us you got funding already from the World Bank. And after signing of this memorandum, we are now going to tender to get a contractor to start the road. We believe maybe by the end of the year, we shall see some dust, as we start the road. We have agreed in the memorandum that we're going to waive the cess for any construction material that will be found in Meru County. And we will facilitate free movement of both materials and labor for purposes of construction of this road. These are the support we can give to make the project cheaper. We have also noted in the memorandum that you are going to give us an extra 5 kilometers of tarmac road, especially to connect our small towns along the corridor.
We are signing an MOU between counties, the county of Mandara, Wajir, Isola and Meru. And why we are signing this MOU between the government and the national government, the county government, is that we realize that when we implement or execute projects, the cost of materials is very, very high, especially where cess is concerned. So we have agreed with the county governments, the governors of those respective counties, that if materials are found in one county for that road, we have asked them to waive the cesses so that we do not escalate the cost of the project. So that's why we are here, and we are happy to report to you that all our governors have signed. We want to make this a bit easy. We have signed the MOU with Mandara, Governor Mandara, Wajir, Isola, and now Governor Meru have signed this memorandum of understanding.
Now, the Ministry of Agriculture has announced that the proposed regulations on nuts and oil crops by Agriculture and Food Authority will take effect by the end of the year. According to the Agriculture Chief Administrative Secretary, Dr. Andrew Tuimur, the draft laws currently at the public participation stage should be implemented and gazetted to help lock out unscrupulous brokers whom have wreaked havoc in the agriculture sector. Let's look at that story.
Tuimur said other laws are the new horticultural, pyrethrum and industrial crop regulations, which once passed will cut the brokers from operations and help farmers including pyrethrum, horticultural and coconut farmers reach markets easily. The government has for the last 5 years been trying to come up with fresh regulations as the lack of law has been an impediment to farmers and economic growth.
Regulations on the nuts, oils and nuts, pyrethrum and other industrial crops, fiber, sugar, and also coffee. Coffee, of course, it will be the last one we'll look at today. So these regulations will help us because it will streamline the agriculture industry. It will streamline. Remember, when agriculture was devolved, 80% of the functions went to the county. So these regulations we are doing is in consultation with the county government.
Some of the regulations in draft seeks to enhance the value chain of the produce by regulating the production, processing and marketing. The regulations also propose that the Agricultural Authority, in consultation with the county government, shall set the harvesting season for the nuts. Kenya has been importing 100 billion shillings worth of nuts and edible oils annually, despite having agricultural potential to produce them locally. Masimilanoi, K24 Inside Business.
Well, and the topic of discussion today is on water recycling lessons Kenyans can draw from other countries in regards to recycling water. And to expound more on that, I'm joined by Dr. Mas Waweru, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Davis and Shatleaf. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you.
Well, now we can start from, you have been very vocal in terms of calling on the government to institute policies that can allow water recycling methods to be rolled out. Maybe you can start by sharing with us what are some of these policies?
The requirement for policies is to ensure that the infrastructure that is being developed or even existing infrastructure has facilities to provide for water recycling. For example, the plumbing that is done in buildings or in houses, we need one that is very clear for drinking water and the other one that can be used for recycled water, so that the two lines do not mix up. And for example, so that recycled water, for example, can be used for flushing the toilets, can be used for lawns, and can also be used for firefighting, because really you don't need to use treated water for drinking for these applications.
Okay, yeah. But those policies are already in place, that they are not implemented, right?
In partly yes, and partly no. The conduiting, the piping for the two recycled water and drinking water is not yet in place. That needs to be done, so that once people are putting up buildings in the plumbing, you have two parallel lines, one for the drinking water and the other one for the wastewater. Currently, what we have for the recycled water, what we have is one pipeline for the drinking water, and then we have wastewater, which is different. Or we have one for cold water and another one for hot water. So what we need to do is to introduce this third one that will be used to serve for the recirculation of water.
Okay. So if the government, let's say, goes ahead and heeds your advice, how do you anticipate this will maybe change how we use water in the country?
First and foremost, it's not possible to separate the subject of conservation and recirculation of water. So the first element that we expect to do in implementing the policy for recycling water, we first need to ensure that we communicate to the public about the need to conserve. Because we know of countries where water has been very little, very scarce, and even currently, even in the city, we don't have enough water. We have a lot of water rationing. So by the mere fact that people realize we don't have enough, it calls upon us now to do the conservation, the recycling. And definitely, if these policies are put in place and implemented, and people are made aware about the policies, then certainly people will start using the water in better ways.
Okay, so there's need for more sensitization.
Exactly.
Now, you earlier on, you did mention about infrastructure. There's no infrastructure that allows for recycling of water, and this is something that needs to be done. But if you can share with us some of the examples or countries that have gone ahead and implemented some of the water recycling measures that we can maybe learn from.
An excellent example is Israel, which we know is a very water-scarce country, but the little resources that they've had, first they've had to do water conservation, using that water in the best way possible, and then they are able to tap the effluent of that water, treat it, and then get it back again into the system for use in different applications.
Okay.
So that's a very good example that we could use. And yet we know now that Israel is among the countries that are leading in irrigated agriculture. Yeah.
Okay. Early on, I was just going through some of the rough thing that you sent me, and you were talking about South Africa being one of the country that we might go that line if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Maybe what are the measures that they are putting in place to ensure that water recycling is something that is done by every South African, and maybe Kenyan can also do that?
One of the elements in implementing is legislation, which is policy. Now, what does legislation do? It guides individual and group behavior. So by putting the policies and ensuring we create awareness of people, people start making good use of the water that they have, they start conserving, and there are many ways of conserving even at the individual level. For example, all buildings with hot water showers, we all know that the first thing you do is to allow the first stream of cold water to go to waste, and then before the warm water comes in. And if we tap that cold stream of water, we could actually use that for another application. The same thing, there's a common practice that rinsing water that is used in homesteads can actually be used for flushing or for cleaning open places. So the exercise, the knowledge and skills are there, and what we need to do is to create greater awareness, greater national awareness, so that we are able to implement this.
And are these methods cost effective?
They're absolutely cost effective. For example, why would you need to use treated good quality water for flushing a toilet? There's a cost of treating of that water and making it available for drinking purposes. But what our system allows it to go into the system, and then it is flushed out. And therefore, if you use the water that has been used for rinsing in flushing the toilet, it serves the purpose, and it leaves the toilet clean, and at the same time you save the cost. So they are very cost effective.
So in your capacity, what are you doing maybe to encourage water recycling, and also talking to let's say when let's say in the construction industry where plumbers are building or bringing up or building these buildings, what role are you playing?
There's a lot of efforts that is going under the radar and mentioned. But for example, recently, last weekend actually, I was in Vipingo where there's a big development being done by Centum. And we are in discussions with them, and actually they are planning to put in a wastewater treatment plant which will use the effluent water, treated water, back into the system to be used for the same applications that we are talking about. So this is not an academic or a theoretical approach. There are efforts that are being done to ensure that people are doing these things. This is being done in hotels, in real estate developments, and even at the individual level.
Okay.
Yeah.
What technologies can we use, maybe in water and waste or recycling? What, if you can share with us some of them?
Good. In terms of when you use the word technology, one would definitely look at the IT aspect, but there's also the water treatment aspect of technology. So just like to touch lightly on both of them. In terms of the IT technology, there's need for remote monitoring, remote sensing and remote monitoring, because we need to monitor the quality of water that is coming from our industries, and at what time after treatment we also need to monitor the quality of the water to know whether it has been treated to the right level before we are able to use it for recycling. That is one aspect. So in terms of technology, and IT mainly is monitoring and control of the water qualities in and out of the premises. With regard to the technology for treatment, basically there's a lot of machinery that is used. The main technology is biodegradation of the waste material. And this is effected by use of the proper bacteria being given the proper environment. And there's also need for aeration, providing air to the bacteria so that they are able to biodegrade the waste.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to our studios.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
That has been Dr. Maswawere, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Davis and Shutleaf, talking about water recycling, some of the lessons we can draw from other countries that have been able to recycle water and save Kenya from imminent water scarcity. Now, news just coming in is that Kericho CEO Tabitha Karanja has just been arrested together with some some of her employees. That is Kericho CEO Tabitha Karanja has just been arrested together with some of her employees. And now taking it again, now looking at also the same news that is just coming in, Kericho CEO Tabitha Karanja has just been arrested together with some of her employees, and she has just been arrested in Naivasha. We'll be bringing you more details as they come in, and also we'll be updating you on our social media platform at K24 TV on both Twitter, Instagram, and also on Facebook. And that is how we wrap up Inside Business for today. My name is Njenga. Have a good afternoon.